Blood Time, the podcast that speaks to the bond, the emotion between coach and athlete at the interscholastic and intercollegiate level. Each interview, each segment will reveal that bond and what was learned, how they were transformed, and what each athlete took to the world at large from that transformation. These stories will warm your heart and astound you altogether. Submitted for your approval. Now it is blood time. I want to thank Serve Pro of Beechwood, our newest sponsor, and Jack Coslin, the owner. They serve all of Northeast Ohio, not just Beechwood. They specialize in disaster cleanup that leaves your home or office like new, like it never happened. Flood and water damage, fire, mold, and they say even blood and guts. Not just any Serve Pro. Seek out Serve Pro of Beechwood. That's Serve Pro Beechwood, Shaker Heights, ClevelandHeights.com, 216-464-4498. Operated by a former All-State wrestler from Beechwood, we love Serve Pro of Beechwood. Hey, this is Blood Time. Coach Cimarroni here, and I want to thank my last guest, the Songs, Daniel Song, the new blood over at Case Western Reserve University. What a terrific coach. What a great story. He gave us some great stories, and of course the position of being a coach at an incredible university like Case Western Reserve University poses its challenge, but also gives it a lot of blessings. Today I want to welcome a great new young blood in the coaching ranks, doing some magnificent stuff, not only at the state level, but he's now getting ranked nationally from an old rival of ours, Aurora High School, Johnny Papesh. How you doing, Johnny?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Welcome to Blood Time.
Oh, it's awesome. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for coming in. And back in the mid-'90s, we had some rivalries with you guys. I don't know if you ever heard those stories.
Yeah. Coach Bliss has told me some stuff, and then Aaron Grossman's on my staff. He's told me some stories, too.
Yeah, well, I coached Aaron.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He was a captain of our 92 team with Mavericks' uncle, Ryan Peters. Yeah, so it was a heck of a run. And I think in 94, if I'm not mistaken, with Ryan's dad as the head coach after I retired for the first time, I think we took fourth in the state, and you guys took third. So it was a big rivalry.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So how's Dick doing?
You know what? I talk to him every week. He's living the dream. So
Awesome.
That's what he tells me. I'm living the retired dream. He lives in Put-in-Bay from May to October, and Fort Myers from October to May.
That's horrible. Right? He's got to be it's terrible lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So you took over for an icon, for a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. It was, everyone always say, big shoes to fill. And
right.
I thought I went into it smoothly.
Okay.
I wrestled for him.
Sure.
And then I was an assistant for him for 3 years.
Oh, that's a perfect transition.
Yeah, and that 3-year period, he kind of slowly gave me more and more and more. And coming out of college, I was full of piss and vinegar and hyper. And
right.
If I was too much, he would let me know, like, hey, it doesn't work like that.
Okay.
This is how it's got to be. And so when he retired, I didn't see it coming. I thought maybe like another year or two.
Right.
But he said, I set you up not to fail. You're going to be fine, and just be confident. You're a great coach. And
right.
I went in with that mindset, and things have been going great.
That's fantastic. So you took over 2 years ago.
4 now.
Wow. Has it been fourth year?
Yeah.
Holy cow. You were a baby then.
Yeah.
I mean, you were a really young head coach.
I came out of college. I was an assistant for 3 years, and then boom.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you've got a great team.
Yeah,
great team.
Doing pretty well right now.
So tell me a little bit about the makeup of the team, philosophically and, physically. What's going on there?
So, we had a great team last year. We took second at states.
Right.
Had a strong senior class, and we had, on paper, the best freshman class in Ohio. We had 4 junior high state champs in one class.
Wow.
And, those kids have been in big matches, but
sure,
growing up in middle school, and like all these kids were middle school and youth studs, you don't really have that battle for the state title.
Right.
So we put a lot of attention last year on, we're going to win states. We want to win states.
Okay.
What's St. Paris Graham doing? What's St. Paris Graham doing?
Right.
And it wore on us.
Okay.
And we were more worried about them than ourselves.
Yeah.
So, I got some great kids. All those freshmen are back.
Awesome.
And, we sat down as a coaching staff and go, what do we have to change?
Okay.
And so we started the wrestling mindset training this year.
Nice.
It's incredible. It's all about gratitude.
Right.
Something we do before every practice, after every practice that they do, we do this saying. And it is thankful for the opportunity to wrestle. I have no fear of winning and losing. I'm aggressive and relentless. And then we break it down with agreement.
Nice.
So, we're putting a big focus on that. And one of their big things is they have a pitcher from the Olympics. So I think the guy was from like France or something, but he beat Michael Phelps.
Wow.
In the Worlds before the Olympics. And just tweeted about Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps was always in his name. In the Olympics, Michael Phelps beat him by 0.1 seconds.
Wow.
And they have a pitcher midway through the race. Michael Phelps is looking forward. That guy's looking at Michael Phelps.
Yeah.
So you're just so worried about Michael Phelps. We were so worried about Graham and everybody else.
Yeah.
So now we're just focusing on ourselves. We're treating every match like it is the big match. And, 15 seconds at a time, focus on ourselves, and things they're good. I mean, we've been performing well this year. So.
I love that. I love what because that really, to me, at your age, recognizing that is brilliant, because at the end of the day, you can only take care of what you've got.
Yeah.
And have some fun doing it.
Yeah.
Have some gratitude, So I think, when you see, like, amazing, right? 1917, Penn State loses to Iowa, but wow, I mean, Iowa was lined up to pretty much hammer them.
They were.
And they didn't. And I don't know what it is about Penn State, but they just have fun.
Oh, man, they do. So I was telling someone the other day, I don't know if you remember from, like, districts last year, if you remember the Aurora team dancing the song, warming up.
Absolutely, yeah.
So last year, the big duel was Ohio State, Penn State.
Sure.
Right? And it was all tense, and Ohio State got blown out pretty bad.
Yep.
And on Twitter that night, Penn State tweeted, you guys warm up. We warm up playing block football. And they were playing football with the challenge block, and they were smiling. And I go, that's what we need to do. We're so tense. We're putting so much into it. Let's just relax, be happy. We're going to be able to wrestle, do what we love, and go out there and have a good time.
And there's nothing you can do about St. Parish Graham except when you wrestle them on the mat.
Yeah, there's nothing I could do. If they wrestle so-and-so, that's not affecting us. So
exactly right.
We don't worry about them. We don't worry about Louisville.
Right.
We worry about what we're doing. We focus on 15 seconds at a time. Right. We one of the big things with the mindset, he talks about predator mindset. Predators have eyes forward. They're looking forward. We're not looking side to side. So we're just worrying about what's in front of us and trying to be the best version of Aurora we can, like mentally being a good citizen. That was one of the things I got from Coach Blitz. He's always be a good citizen. Mm-hmm. So that's on the mat, off the mat, at home. I don't want to hear them being punks at their parents or anything.
Well, I'm gonna fist bump you on that, because that's the only thing I want. Is great citizens, because great wrestling comes easy if you have great citizens, because all the foundations are there.
If I think one of the things Coach Bliss taught me, if you're doing the right thing all the time, great things are going to happen.
No question about it.
So.
Well, go Greenman.
Yeah.
I got 3 Greenman graduates as kids. Matter of fact, I'm going to go visit my daughter right now after this interview down in Columbus. She turned 22 yesterday.
Yeah.
So, and I know your wife turned whatever yesterday, right?
Yeah. She just turned 25.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
There you go. And the Greenmen always had a great history, a great tradition in wrestling since I think Dick was over there in the early 70s.
Yeah,
right?
I think Dick's first year there was 72.
72. And they had a kid named Todd Jindra.
Todd Jindra, state champ.
What a stud.
Yeah, his first year in, he got a state champ.
I remember him at the Kenston tournament, and I said, holy cow. I was like, I don't know, a freshman or something. And I said, I want to be like that guy. Never got like that guy, but he was something. So he was like in the golden era of wrestling, that time. So when you have that type of tradition, do you bring any of these guys back and talk to the team? Do you have any kind of...
Yeah, I actually, like one of the things we do, I know Ohio State does it. They bring in different people, like they'll bring in a war vet and talk about trench warfare. Just
love that.
Something so they know, like, I get you're in the dog days and you're grinding, but it could be much worse.
Sure.
So, like, I'll bring in Tim Quartet. We'll come in and talk. And, like, Timmy. His big message was... have like your little motion so you know when it's go time. He goes, mine, I laced my shoes up, and that was my mental reset button that it's time to go.
Sure.
So I'll bring other people in. We had Ryan Lang from Nordonia come in and talk.
Fantastic
So
kid.
we just try to get some of them alumni. A lot of them are pretty spread out.
Right.
I would love to get Josh Schroeder to come out, but
I watched him a couple times.
Yeah, he lives in Washington, so it's kind of hard to do. But
right.
Yeah,
well, I know Timmy took down Brock Lesnar.
He did.
So, although after that, we won't talk about it.
Timmy Cortez, he's a stud. One of the toughest dudes ever. I'll tell you a crazy story. Just being with Dick forever, I get every story. Yeah. And then I got Ryba on my staff now too, who was with him in the 90s.
Yeah, terrific.
So junior year, Tim Cortez junior year, he's ranked second in the state. The week between sectionals and districts, you're allowed to have people come over.
Right.
In that week, on Monday, he hurts his knee.
Oh.
Tuesday, they get an MRI. He has a bucket tear in his meniscus.
No.
Wednesday, he goes to the doctor, Hogenroger, gets the surgery. Doesn't practice Thursday. Now the bus leaves at like noon because weigh-ins are at 3.
Yeah.
And they say, Coach, is it okay if we just drive him there? He's rehabbing.
Right.
Coach says, okay.
Yeah.
They get the weigh-ins. Weigh-ins are almost over. Timmy's not there.
Right.
They said, everyone's talking. Cortez out.
Yeah, that's a big talk.
About 2 minutes before weigh-ins ended, he said he busted open the doors like John Wayne, walked in, stepped on the scale, made weight, pinned his way through the district, and every single match he would rehab in between matches, and then took second at states the next week.
That is crazy.
I just go, you don't hear stuff like that.
You just don't. Just don't. I had a similar story with Ricky Sorkin. This kid took second in the state as a sophomore, state champ as a junior, tears his knee. He was wrestling with Paul Bartolone. This is back in the 70s. Paul Bartolone, who was eventually 2-time state champ. And that was my first thing as a coach. But I wasn't on staff. I was like a volunteer.
Yeah.
And I worked with him for 2 weeks. He took second in the state with literally one leg.
Man,
because he had great hips, right?
Yeah,
great hips, can win. So having said all that, this is really great stories. Tell me, Blood Time, when did that coach, who was that coach or coaches that said, Johnny said in his mind, I can do this?
So, I started wrestling in first grade at Jaws, and
Jaws, yeah.
We had this coach. He was a Maple Heights guy called Kerry Sobieski.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember.
Sure, yeah, I know the name. Sure.
And right away, he took a liking to me.
Okay.
Like my first couple of years, I didn't lose a match. And
wow.
Took a liking, and you start getting a little more into it. He was like the coach that would travel with me. We'd go to a tournament in PA. Yeah. He was riding with us. So he was like
guy.
He was like my guy, my golden guy. Then when I was in 4th grade, he got liver disease and passed away.
Oh.
So that was brutal on me.
Right.
And
jeez.
I got to a weird point that I think a lot of public schools youth programs see.
Yeah.
Where I was so much better than everybody in the room.
Gotcha.
That I needed to get pushed, and you get into that.
You need to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right.
And you get into that weird stage where I'm gonna go and wrestle at Chanel in practice, and you get that weird wait a second, you're an Aurora guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think a lot of
you feel almost like you're a traitor.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
A lot of really good kids get put in that. I want to be loyal to Aurora, but at the same time, I have to do what's best for me.
Right.
So
to eventually come back and do what's best for Aurora.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
So, at that time, I started going to Chanel. I had 2 main guys then.
Okay.
Started going to Chanel, and I attached with Jeff Jagger Sr.
Oh, that's a terrible guy.
So Jay's dad,
what a phenomenal.
Yeah, him and I kind of bonded. He
Sure.
liked me. And Chanel was a unique room because I had my dad was pretty tough. I mean, he was
I get it.
one of those old school wrestling dads. And at Chanel, there were no dads in the room. They shut the door, and that was that.
Love that.
I loved it. At the time, I loved it. And my dad in that room was was Coach Jagger. So,
sure.
I really bonded with him. And then at the same time, what I started doing was kind of my introduction to Coach Bliss, who is like another father to me, a mentor. Right. And I was in 5th
Do they still
grade.
call him Barney?
They called him Barney. I got that written down. But at the time, I'm a little kid. It's Coach Bliss. I thought
Barney Rubble.
Yep,
that's awesome.
I thought I'd never
with
be
the
able
white
to call
bucks,
him that.
Baby.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So when I was in 5th grade, we would meet 2 days a week. He would get done with the high school practice at about 5:15.
Okay.
The youth practice didn't start till 6:30. I would get there at about 5:20.
Nice.
And we would sit down for about 15 minutes.
All right.
And we would just talk about positions that I went through in matches or in practice, and I'd have questions, and him and I would go through and do one-on-one technique together on wherever I needed it from. So we did that 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade.
Right.
And just, being at that time, he's a head coach. He was into his 60s by then. And I'm going to the junior high states. He's there to watch.
Yeah.
I'm going here. He's there to watch. So he coached tournaments Friday, Saturday. Most club stuff at that time is on a Sunday.
Yeah.
He's there watching. He didn't have to do all that.
Of course not.
We got closer and closer and closer, and then, going into high school, it was, do you want to go to Chanel? Or do you want to go to Aurora?
Right.
I said, I love Coach Bliss. I'm going to Aurora.
Awesome.
Like, I feel 100% behind him. So
awesome. Yeah.
Coach Bliss is like the first one that
you became blood.
Yeah. It was blood. And when I was in high school, I was lucky. He was the AD.
Yes.
So I spent a lot of time, instead of being in class, actually in his office, hanging out with him, just talking with him.
I love it.
So
yeah,
it was tough.
Yeah, I know. That's what I had with Marino when I was his assistant coach.
Yeah.
Same kind of bond. He was my wrestling father, and I was fortunate enough to get him in here as an interview a few weeks ago. So it's crazy how much you can learn from that kind of brilliance of not only the intellect, but also the wisdom.
Oh, man, there was so much wisdom. The first thing is, I like to say I'm realistic, but he would say he'd call me Nordy, negative Nordy.
Okay.
He is was super positive with everything.
Yeah.
All the time. Something's going wrong, give me a smile. It's a beautiful day in Aurora.
Right.
And he was just super positive with all that, and just little tricks. Like we had this kid, Josh Whitelaw.
Okay.
Getting ready for the sectional tournament.
Yeah.
He's got 3 kids ranked in the top 10 in his sectional tournament. And he's had kind of knee stuff, been banged up. It's the week before going into sectionals.
Okay.
He gives them the entire week off. I go, what?
Yep.
I go, are you crazy, coach?
Yeah.
He's good. It's this time he goes,
yeah.
Just believe me. Trust me. Listen.
Right.
That kid came back the next week, fresh as could be, and won the sectional tournament.
Fantastic.
And he goes, what I tell you, I just put the hands up. I go, you know what?
That's right.
You're the wizard. You've been doing this for 50 years.
That is exact. You know what? Monday we played games.
Yeah.
Before I just see of course we got hit sadly with mono with one kid, so he's out for the season. But everybody seemed tired. You know? Sometimes you just got to let's just have fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Take a day off. Everybody needs a day off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even the best of the best. Now, I came from the school of. I remember being in the St. Ed's room in the late 70s, early 80s, where they run 9 6-minute matches in a row just to warm up, basically. You know what I mean? That was the old school. But today, you don't want to overtrain, right?
No, one of the things I learned from Coach Bliss, and my family is like an old school construction family. 90% of my family, they're hard work construction workers. So that was me.
Yeah.
Go, 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 go.
Right.
Well, there's a difference in working harder and working smarter.
Well said.
So, like, my team, after we had a gauntlet, we went from Ironman to the Brecksville tournament to our league tournament, which has Brecksville and Wadsworth in it. Yeah. And then we had a weekend off. So, we were a little banged up. That Monday and Tuesday, the only thing we did was play games.
I love it.
We spent about an hour and a half both days playing games. That was it. And I said, all right, we'll get back to work. And
right.
Today we get day before a match.
Yeah.
I run it for about 20 minutes to get them sweating. I give them 30 minutes on their own. And then they end playing spike ball or handball.
Brilliant.
They're just loose. They're happy.
Sure.
The work comes in the week. We don't need to be going that crazy all the time.
So let me ask you a question. Tell me. So obviously, what you think was Bliss that really bonded with you. Said, "Yeah, I can do this.
Yeah,
I can be this." That's a fantastic thing. Talking about overtraining and all that. I look at the college, particularly the top colleges. They all have all their tournaments usually in the first part of the year, and then the rest of the year they go with dual meets. I like that.
I do too.
Do you like that?
I do too.
Yeah, I'm trying to get that at Chagrin.
I think that the dual meets, like the Penn State Iowa duel the other day.
Yeah.
That's huge for our sport.
Yeah.
That's huge for our sport. Tournaments,
right.
Coverage is hard. You're not getting to see every match.
Right. And it's hard on the spectators too, right?
Yeah. You're all over the place.
Right.
A lot of these tournaments are so big. There's 2 gyms.
Right.
You're there all day.
Running back and forth. It was ridiculous.
Who wants to be there all day?
Yeah. And it's hard on the coaching staff.
It is. So the dual meets are fun. I think it's huge for the sport. We pretty much do that too, kind of. I try to set the schedule up like that. December, all tournaments. January, we hit that mid-January tournament. Otherwise, January is just such a grind.
Yeah, I couldn't get around the CBC tournament.
Yeah.
Okay, but and this Audrey Genovese tournament, which was only a 1-day tournament, so it wasn't too bad. But I've got 4 home meets this year. It's the first time they've had that in 10 years.
Really?
And the kids love it, So now it's not great competition, but that's okay.
That's okay.
Win something.
Yeah.
Get your groove on, right?
Yeah, kids get fired up being at home with that home crowd, and who knows who maybe a little freshman in there and sees that and they come out to wrestle.
Yeah, we bring in the youth too, and we introduce them and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And Beechwood's doing that too. Ryan Peters over at Beechwood is doing a lot of youth work, and he's got a huge youth program, and that's really the future of our sport.
That is
youth.
That is. I got to give a shout out to my youth coach. So
sure,
we had Jerry Berger, who was our youth coach for like 35 years.
Yeah, over at Berger Hardware.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And then my buddy Billy took over for about 5 years and kind of got stuff in place, and we have a first-year youth coach this year, Dave Jastel, just state placer for Crestwood.
Oh, yeah.
We have 80 kids on our youth team. He was at every single football game out there hustling, trying to get these kids. 80 kids. And
nice.
Then he fundraised like crazy. They all got bags with their names on it that they didn't have to pay for. Warm-ups, singlets that they all could keep. They didn't have to pay for any of that.
Fantastic.
And like you said, that's the future.
Yep.
You look at a sport that they say numbers are going down, and I say, well, my youth team in Aurora, which is not that big,
right? We
have 80 kids just in the youth.
I'm gonna fist bump you again on that. We're up to 60, and Pete Franz is our guy, a former Kenston Bomber.
Yeah.
And of course, Ryan's got him up to, I think, almost 100. So just in our 3 programs, we're closing in on 250, 260 kids in the youth. That's what it's all about.
That is.
You know what I mean? And the other guys that I want to give a shout out to is those middle school coaches.
Man, it's hard to find.
They are hard to find, and they are the glue of keeping the youth to the high school.
Yeah, they
so
are.
Paul Perrine and Todd Toombs, they're our guys.
Yeah.
I love those guys.
They're terrific. They're awesome.
How about your guys? Who
I got Paul Frankman.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Been there a long time. He was my middle school coach,
right?
Former brush coach,
right?
And then I got Mark Bagara, who was an assistant with me.
I don't know him.
Yeah, he's he wrestled at Cleveland State, Garfield Heights. He's my cousin actually, so he was with Dick for about 8 years and with me for 3, and then he went down to the middle school this year.
Fantastic. So, well, shout out to those guys, big time. Keep doing good work. And so, Johnny, we talked about Dick. Okay, we talked about who transformed you. You as now a head coach, you're transforming kids that are now becoming men. So tell us some stories about some of the guys now that you had the honor of coaching that are now doing some cool things.
Yeah, so 3 kids from the beginning when I first came in. Mm-hmm. So I come in, and the previous year Aurora didn't have a returning state qualifier. They didn't qualify anyone.
Wow, yeah.
And that doesn't happen much, especially for Dick. That was pretty hard on him.
Right.
And but we have this superstar 8th grader that I've been working with while I was in college and stuff, Jared Brezovic. Then there's this other kid, Danny Novak, never started in youth. Okay. Never started in middle school. Freshman year, it was 112 that year.
Wow.
There's no 112 pounder. He gets the spot because there's no one there.
Okay.
And then I got another kid, Connor Bisjack, going to be a freshman, maybe 130 pounds. Not that tough, but would go to everything.
Yeah. Bisjack, that sounds like an old wrestling
family.
There was Newberry Bisjacks.
They were Walsh people.
Walsh, okay.
Yeah. Right. So those 3, my first couple of years, transformed everything.
Wow.
Brezovic came in. He's a 2-time junior high state placer, a youth state champ, the whole thing, and was the hammer right away. And so
he was your lead dog.
He was the lead dog, and him and I were close because I've been working out with him for years.
Sure.
And he's real feisty. I like that about him. Like, Bliss would say jokes to him, and he'd be mad. He'd be mad. So I liked it.
I like that.
And then this Danny Novak kid was like my first, I would call it a project almost. Okay. So never started in youth, never started in middle school. Right. Maybe 500 as a freshman. We didn't have anyone.
But you saw something in him.
I saw something in him. He was edgy. And so I came in and I got him going, and I taught him how to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Nice.
Sophomore year, 30 wins.
Sure.
Junior year, match to go to state.
Fantastic.
Questionable call. Senior year, he wins the sectional against beat 2 kids who ended up going to state. He gets hurt and doesn't get to really compete at districts. He was totally one-legged. But this kid transformed from never starting to this was his life. And now his mom's loving wrestling. Him and his mom and I talk all the time still. Him and I talk all the time still. Him and Jared are at John Carroll together.
Fantastic.
And then there's Connor Bisjack, who's another one of those like kids. He's 132 as a freshman.
Yeah.
Sophomore year, he's grows 6 inches. He's at 182. He looks like Bambi on ice. He can't. He's just all over the place.
Yeah, all elbows and knees, right?
Yeah, but this is a kid who loved the sport, never complained, went to every single extra workout, and by his senior year, he was a state alternate, and we were D1 then. If we were D2, he was going to be at the show, and who knows what happens when you get there.
So he got everything out of his body.
Got everything out of his body, and he's wrestling at John Carroll too.
That is fantastic.
I talk to those three all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
And then, you go down the road maybe like a couple more years. So we had 8 seniors last year graduate.
Yeah. Before you tell the story, I want to talk about a guy we just interviewed a couple weeks ago, contemporary of yours, George DiCamillo.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
National finalist, 2-time state champ, saying his big thing is, I want to be uncomfortable. Yeah. I want to put myself in a position to be uncomfortable, get comfortable with that, and then get uncomfortable again. Yeah. And that's how you get better, right?
I tell the kids every day, we have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Right. My job as a coach is to get you guys ready as humans.
Yes.
And not just in wrestling. There's going to be times where you have a job and you're in a position where you're not comfortable. You got to overcome that. Yes. So anytime you get uncomfortable, that should just be your norm. Right. Make that your norm. Know where your wall is. Push it back a little farther. So,
gotcha.
I think that's huge. That's what's great about wrestling and sports. It's not just about that sport. It's about life.
It is. It is such a microcosm, right? Yeah. So tell me about those 8.
So those 8 kids, there were a few of them that I got really close with. Okay. Andy Garr. Mm-hmm. One of the best kids I've ever met in my life. He is going to be, people laugh. I go, he'll be a president or he'll be something high.
Yes.
So this kid, he has no dad.
Wow.
Single mom who works 3 jobs as a professor. She was like a professor at Case, did studies at Case, and a professor at Youngstown. Andy had a twin sister that has a deaf and Down syndrome.
Oh my gosh.
So he's a 4.8 student. He's at Columbia now. Always did the right thing. Always worked out. It was him and I on the road to go to Super 32.
Yeah.
Everyone's with their parents. Him and I are going. His mom's got to watch his sister and work 3 jobs.
Jeez.
I'm going to take him there. You know what I mean? And him and I got really close. He's just does all the right things. And look, he's at Columbia. He's going to Columbia.
Yeah, that is his
full academic scholarship. You know what I mean?
That was like, was it Jeremy Cash went to Princeton?
Yeah.
Was he around your era?
He's a little older.
A little older? Okay, yeah, that's what I thought, because I think his sister played with my daughter in softball. And quality kid.
Great kid.
But man, you don't get to those positions without being quality.
No,
everything you're doing, you know what I mean? And Columbia is as good as it gets.
Yeah, Andy did all the right things.
Right.
And he was one of those kids that, a lot of these kids, we had 8 seniors last year, 5 were state placers.
That's fantastic.
And a lot of them were, when the match was over, we were both bawling our eyes out.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. We talk about blood time and being family.
No doubt.
That's what it's about. I had a kid, Colin McNamara. Mm-hmm. This is the first year in 12 years there's not a McNamara on the wrestling team. There were 3 brothers, 4 years apart.
Wow.
Colin's a 3-sport athlete. Wrestling is his least favorite sport.
Yes.
State runner-up last year. And when he lost in the finals,
yes,
he was okay with the loss, but it was his last high school match, and he came up into the suite, and we looked at each other. We didn't have to say anything. We just started bawling, hugged each other, and that's that.
That's what it's all about.
That
man.
Is, yeah.
That's what and you know what? I want to give a shout-out to the city of Aurora and the school system.
Yeah.
Because they prepare kids.
Oh, man, they do.
My kids got a great education there. I'm sure you did too.
Yeah.
And they did well. They did better in college than they did in high school because high school is so tough.
Yeah.
So I really have to, the whole community, I think.
Yeah, that's one thing with Aurora. Their academic classes are tough. Yes. And these kids are going through a lot. Every night they got to put a lot of study time in.
Yep.
And Aurora does a great job to prepare them for college, prepare them for they're going to go to a trade school or whatever, just by constantly making them work. So, I got to give my kids a shout out just because I know what I demand from them and the time that I demand from them.
Right.
On top of that, and they're taking care of business. So that's huge.
And I've had the honor of coaching at 2 great communities, Beechwood and Chagrin Falls. Very similar academically.
Yeah,
very similar in makeup. As far as their their school board and their organization and the high schools. And I just think that is really the best thing you can do for a kid. Put them in a position to succeed.
I agree. I agree. And
so what are you doing this year? You guys are pretty high ranked. You're looking pretty good. And then we're gonna have to face you, doggone it, at the Beechwood sectional. Better than going down to St. Vincent.
We're looking pretty good. Okay. It's an interesting team. So, we had 8 seniors last year.
Yes,
that's huge. You would think you lose 8 seniors,
yes,
all start at 5 or state
brutal.
Places.
Right.
You would think there would be a big drop, but that sophomore class was super good.
Super.
And we got a kid that moved from Lakewood that's a stud. That's only a sophomore, too, in that class. Wow. And we have this sophomore at 160, Dylan Fishbach.
Okay, yes.
He is the real deal. Yeah. And it's interesting because he's kind of soft-spoken.
Yeah.
Last year as a freshman, Andy Garr, who was our captain, took him under his wing.
Okay.
And kind of taught him what it is like to lead. I tell everyone to go back to talk about this Andy kid. Here's the type of kid he was. His junior year, he was the man.
Right.
Senior year, he was supposed to be the man.
Yeah.
But midway through, kind of Dylan, his drill partner, who he took under his wing, kind of passed him up.
Yep.
At 145, there's 2 kids in the state tournament that are better than everybody. Him and Jordan Crace. They were just a step above.
Right.
We don't seed. They're on the same side of the bracket.
Wow.
So we meet in the semi. So Andy doesn't get to be in the state finals.
Yes.
Dylan's a freshman.
Yes.
Loses in the state finals.
Wow.
He rounds the corner of the stage crying. I watch Andy come running out of the bleachers, jumps over the railing,
right,
puts his arm around Dylan, pats his back, and walks him off.
Fantastic.
So losing those seniors, Dylan had to step up as a sophomore to be our leader.
Sure.
Which it's not in his character to open his mouth. He's kind of like quiet leader.
Right.
But he got forced into that position.
Right.
And
made himself uncomfortable.
Right. And this kid is a kid that does all the right things. He is getting the 8 extra workouts that I don't know or see.
Yeah.
That I have to hear a week later from his dad. You know what I mean? He's doing all the right things. So he's huge on the team. I mean, he has not lost in the state of Ohio. He lost 2 matches at Beast.
Okay.
But he played football and we made the Final Four. So he like rolled right into it.
Right. Yeah. So that's
But
tough.
I mean, he's something special.
Right.
That whole sophomore class is special.
And he's what weight?
Dylan's at 160.
160. Okay.
We got a 170 pounder who's also one of our leaders. He's a senior state placer. He just committed to the Naval Academy. So that right there should say a lot about his character.
Yeah, I saw a really, really talented kid this weekend, LaGoya.
Yeah.
From Lakeside. Boy, that kid's something.
He's tough. He's really tough.
He is tough. Yes.
Speaking of Lagoa, he used to be at St. John's.
Yeah.
We got one of his former teammates, David Cumberledge.
Oh, sure.
Moved to Aurora, and he's at Aurora.
That's fantastic.
Which, crazy thing with him, we talk about worrying about ourselves and being the best version of ourselves.
Right.
Last year, St. John's, they had a great tournament team. And the coach's kid was at 152, who's one of David's good friends.
Right.
His friend Duca and him were about the same. He weighed 163. He said, you know what? You go 160. I'll win it at 170. We're going to win the state title. He weighed 163. Wrestled 170. He was a state runner-up. He's wrestling 145 for us right now.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
crazy. But that happens, That happens with a great team, great coach, great leaders, and also great parents, too. You need a lot of combinations of stuff to really make things happen. And, I could go on and on, Johnny, and but we're kind of running out of time here. So you've been phenomenal, and I really love what this is all about: youth, but also wisdom, taking wisdom from a wise guy. But also not in a wise guy in a bad way, wise guy in a good way, and also to reaching out to others, and getting varied opinions and varied perspectives and philosophies.
You got to do that. Like one of the last things I'll say that Coach Blitz taught me, or he said, and it stuck with me, was he goes, "I've been coaching 50 years. I'm still learning. When I think I can't learn anymore, it's time for me to stop." Big time. So I mean, that's a guy who did it for 50 years, is in the Hall of Fame, and he's going to people younger than him, people older than him, open mind, learning. Sure. I want to try to be the best coach for my kids that I can be. You got to stay open and go to other people, and stuff like this podcast is awesome because our sport is so great, and there's not much focus on the bond between a coach and a wrestler and how tight you actually get. Like it is blood. It is blood.
There's no question about it. And it's interesting, and I'm so glad that you said that, because I want to circle back for one last question for you. But the student becomes the teacher. Yeah. And so I wrote a book called Benevolent Capitalism, and I in one chapter, The Student Becomes a Teacher, I identified 4 guys that I coached that ended up teaching me, and one of them was Aaron. Oh yeah. And so and one of them was Scott Peters. Another one was Michael Goldberg, who I just interviewed, just ran his, and Jason Thomas. So I've been fortunate. Matter of fact, that's Aaron's brother, and so I've been fortunate to have that. But also too, I get taught by Jake Goodwin, who's my assistant coach. You know what I mean? I get taught by the kids saying, hey, coach, I thought about this. And then, Jacob showed me Kyle Dake's new workout. Insane. You know what I mean? Insane. So I love that you're open to that. And I love that you're listening to people that are still open to that.
Yeah, you have to be. No one has all the answers.
Exactly. And so having said that, leave us with one or two things to the audience that you'd like to take as that nugget that you've learned over your life in regards to coaching.
Yeah, I think maybe the biggest thing as being a head coach that I learned is this year, just focus on ourselves. Worry about ourselves. Gotcha. Stay positive. Focus on what's in front of us, not what's behind us. And that's huge. I think things are so much looser. And then one thing Coach Bliss taught me, my coming out of college, it was a little crazy, little hyper.
Sure.
And it was hard the first 2 years for me to learn it. And it was, you can't make anyone do something they don't want to do. You can't want it more than the kid does.
Right.
And for me, when I came out of college, I wanted it so bad for them, and they wouldn't do this stuff, and I would just get so frustrated.
Yeah.
And it took me a while, but no one's going to do something they don't want to do. You can't make them do it. And if you want it more than they do, you're going to be miserable. So
sure. Yeah, that is a really good lesson.
Yeah. So when I first was coaching, like at big tournaments, my stress level was through the roof.
Sure.
Nervous wreck.
Sure.
Hard. I probably lost 10 years of my life, but now, I'm pretty laid back. I mean, I'll get a little nervous. I'm human, but it's much more relaxed for me. I think my kids feel that I'm relaxed, so they're more relaxed. And
well, when the message meets the experience, magic happens, right? When the kids know that they're going to get a great experience and you're right there, magic happens, and magic is happening at Aurora.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, continue success, Johnny. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, we are blood.
Yeah.
Johnny Papesh, the new blood at Aurora. We are blood. This is Coach Cimarroni. Thanks for listening.
I want to share my thought of the day with you. When making a decision, be prudent, pragmatic, and then bold.